Terence Hill is an Italian actor, film director, screenwriter and producer. He began his career as a child actor and gained international fame for starring roles in action and comedy films, many with longtime film partner and friend Bud Spencer. During the height of his popularity, Hill was among Italy's highest-paid actors. His most widely seen films include comic and standard spaghetti westerns, some based on popular novels by German author Karl May about the Wild West. Of these, the most famous are Lo chiamavano Trinità, They Call Me Trinity, 1970, Continuavano a chiamarlo Trinità, Trinity Is Still My Name, 1971, the highest-grossing Italian film to date, and Il mio nome nessuno, My Name Is Nobody, 1973, co-starring Henry Fonda. Hill, whose stage name was the product of a publicity stunt by film producers, also went on to a successful television career in Italy, playing the title character in the long-running Rai 1 series Don Matteo from 2000 until 2021. Hill was born on March 29, 1939 in Venice, Italy. Hill's mother, Hildegard Girotti, was German from Dresden. His father, Girolamo Girotti, was Italian, and a chemist by occupation. During his childhood, Hill lived in the small town of Lammach, Saxony. He was there up to the end of World War II, and survived the bombing of Dresden. He was discovered by Italian filmmaker Dino Risi at a swimming meet at the age of 12, and he became a child actor, appearing in Risi's Vacation with a Gangster, 1951, as Gianni the orphan gang leader. They were looking for a boy gang leader and they found me, he later said. He had small roles in Voice of Silence, 1953, with Jean Marais, Too Young for Love, and It Happened in the Park, 1953. He was in Golden Vein, 1954, with Merda Touraine and Richard Basehart, The Abandoned, 1955, and Folklore Division, 1955. Girotti had his first lead in Guaglione, 1956. He could also be seen in Mamma Sconosciuta, 1956, I Vagaboni del Stella, 1956, La Gran Strada Azzurra, 1956, with Yves Montand at Alida Valley and Lazzarella. Girotti did Anna of Brooklyn, 1958, with Gina Lollobrigida, The Sword and the Cross, 1958, with Yvonne De Carlo, playing Lazarus of Bethany, and a TV version of The Picture of Dorian Gray, 1958. He had support parts in Il Padrone del Ferriere, 1959, with Verna Lisi, Jukebox, Early d'Amore, 1959, and Hannibal, 1959, with Victor Mature and Carlo Pedersoli, who would later become known as Bud Spencer. Girotti had the lead roles in Spavaldi e Innamorati, 1959, and Sarrazella, 1959, a teen comedy. It was back to support roles with Carthage in Flames, 1960, Un Militare e Mezzo, 1960, and The Story of Joseph and His Brethren, 1961, with Jeffrey Horn and Robert Morley, directed by Irving Rapper. Girotti had support parts in The Wonders of Aladdin, 1961, with Donald O'Connor and directed by Henry Levin and Mario Bava, Peccato d'Amore, 1961, Seven Seas to Calais, 1962, with Rod Taylor, and The Shortest Day, 1963. Girotti secured a substantial supporting role in Luchino Visconti's film Epic the Leopard, 1963, alongside Burt Lancaster and Alain Delon, in which he unsuccessfully tries to court the daughter of Lancaster's character. During this time he studied classical literature for 3 years at an Italian university. In 1964, he returned to Germany and there appeared in a series of Heimat film, adventure and western films, based on novels by German author Karl May. These included Last of the Renegades, 1964, with Lex Barker, 3 films with Stuart Granger, Amongst Vultures, 1964, The Oil Prince, 1965, and Old Surehand, 1965, Shots in Three Quarters Time, 1965, Duel at Sundown with Peter Van Eyck, Call of the Forest, 1965, an Austrian movie, Die Nibelungen Teil 1, Siegfried, 1965, and Die Nibelungen Teil 2, Kriemhild's Ratch, 1967. In 1967, he returned to Italy to make Io non protesto, Io amo, 1967, co-starring Caterina Caselli. Girotti then appeared alongside Bud Spencer, then known as Carlo Pedersoli, in Giuseppe Colizzi's spaghetti western God Forgives, I Don't, 1967. At the time, cast and crew in westerns frequently adopted American names to give the film a better chance of selling in non-Italian speaking countries. Girotti changed his name to Terence Hill. He picked the name from a list of 20 he was given, The story about using his wife's name was a publicity idea. The film was a huge hit, the most popular film of the year in Italy, and established him as a star. Hill followed it with a musicarello, The Crazy Kids of the War, 1967, with Rita Pavone, then did a western, Django, Prepare a Coffin, 1968, for director Ferdinando Baldi, a sequel to Django, 1966, with Hill playing the role done by Franco Nero in the original. It co-starred Horst Frank and George Eastman, and would be featured, much later, at the 64th Venice Film Festival, in 2007. Hill was a leading man in a musical western Crazy Westerners, 1968, again with Rita Pavone, then was reunited with Spencer in Ace High, 1968, a sequel to God Forgives with a cast including several American actors such as Eli Wallach. Hill did The Tough and the Mighty, 1968, a biopic of Graziano Messina, then a second sequel to God Forgives, Boot Hill, 1969, co-starring Spencer and Woody Strode. Hill did The Wind's Fierce, 1970, then had a huge hit with Spencer with the comedy western They Call Me Trinity, 1971. Hill did a swashbuckler, Blackie the Pirate, in which Spencer had a small role. They reteamed properly for a Trinity sequel, Trinity Is Still My Name, 1972. It was even more popular than the original and had a successful release in the USA. Hill did a modern-day crime drama The Hassled Hooker, 1972, and a comedy western without Spencer, Man of the East, 1972. He and Spencer did All the Way, Boys, their first non-western though it was still a comic adventure film. Hill has stated in interviews that My Name is Nobody, 1973, in which he co-starred with Henry Fonda, is his personal favorite of all his films. The film was based on an idea by Sergio Leone. Hill again starred with Spencer in Watch Out, We're Mad, 1974, and Two Missionaries then without him in the spaghetti western A Genius, Two Partners and a Dupe. He moved from Italy to live in the U.S. and settled in Stockbridge, Massachusetts, in the Berkshires. Gino De Laurentiis cast Hill in his first English-language film, Mr. Billion, 1977, directed by Jonathan Kaplan for 20th Century Fox, co-starring Valerie Perrine and Jackie Gleason. It was a box office flop. After returning to Italy for Crime Busters, 1977, with Spencer, Hill then made another English-language movie, March or Die, 1977, an $8 million French Foreign Legion tale for Lou Grade, co-starring Gene Hackman and Catherine Deneuve. It was a box office disappointment. Despite his fluency in Italian and English, Hill was usually dubbed by other actors in both languages. In the Italian versions of his films, various actors provided his voice until the late 1960s, where he was primarily dubbed by Sergio Graziani. He was voiced by Pino Locchi from 1970 to 1983, and by Michelle Gamino from 1983 to 1996. For English dubs, Lloyd Bautista dubbed him in 6 films, including the Cat Stevens and Hutch Bessie trilogy, while Roger Brown dubbed him in most of his early 1970s films. They Call Me Trinity to A Genius, Two Partners and a Dupe. From Mr. Billion onward, Hill dubbed his own English voice. Well, for 33 years, the life of the famous actor and producer has been plagued by a malaise, an illness from which Terence Hill is unable to recover. Well guys, what are your thoughts? Do tell us. Thanks for watching.